So chapter 5 is called the Eulogy. Um, and let me tell you, she actually includes the entire audio clip of the eulogy she gave for her father at the National Cathedral. It's the, ebook equivalent of a sitcom clip show, when you're just recycling old material to try to pad your episode count. It's a little bit lazy, but I also will give her that was, a significant moment in her life and specifically of her recent life. So I understand why you include talking about it. Um, and then it's 16 minutes. It's a long um, speech. But anyway, so she starts to talk about the fact that her father had asked her to deliver the eulogy at the National Cathedral. Obviously, he did that before he died. And that she didn't understand what that meant. Now, as someone who's so proud of the amount of time she spent in Washington, and considers herself a little bit of an insider slash outsider, who has spent time in D.C. and knows the political landscape, blah blah blah. She says she didn't know what it meant to deliver a speech in the National Cathedral. She didn't know how big it was. She didn't know, like, how do you miss that? I've been to DC like what 3 times in my life. I've been to the National Cathedral. It's like, how do you? I just don't understand how something like that just went right past her. But then again, why would she care about the National Cathedral if it hasn't impacted her life yet? Although you'd think she would have seen someone else's funeral, Reagan, anyone, and known what significant um, structure that is. But anyway, she didn't, and she was mad at her father for putting her in charge of doing this eulogy. Why her? Why not one of the boys who's in the military? Blah blah blah. And then later in her discussion, after she talks about giving the eulogy, she says, "Oh, my brothers could never have done that. They're not public speakers. They're not public figures." And so you've answered your question then. Why did he not pick them? Because they wouldn't want to do it. And, she says she's happy because he would have wanted her to give him hell. And, in the last chapter, which was about her father's illness and death, she said there's a clip that goes around, and we've all seen it. That's just the mashup of all of it, not all of, but many of the times where she just said, "My father, my 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 father," and she said that that's the most painful thing she's ever seen about herself on the internet. And why should the fact that she loves and respects her father be made fun of? So missing the point about what that clip is about. And she says, I've been interviewed many times about my father. So of course, there's a lot of footage of me talking about him, but that's not it's not you being asked questions about him. It's you voluntarily bringing him up like every 3.5 seconds. That's what that clip is about. And, riding on the coattails, nepotism, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I'm sure you're smart enough to get that. You're just trying to play dumb, but what a weird excuse to put in your book. And then she plays the 16-minute eulogy. And dear readers, dear viewers, dear listeners, let me tell you, that got me. Walking through Tribeca on my way to go meet a friend for dinner, a little weepy. At least to the first half. It's very heartfelt. She's emotional through it. So that all sort of comes through, and you can feel that grief and pain and respect, and like it's all in there, right? She actually did a bang up job on that. And then you get to the second half, I think, which is part of the give him hell part, where she continually talked about John McCain's America. There's one line she was particularly proud of where she said, John McCain's America doesn't need to be made great again. It has always been great, which led to a round of applause. And she said someone else told her afterwards that never has there ever been a round of applause in a eulogy at the National Cathedral, which is a very weird statistic for someone to have on the top of their head. I don't know how accurate it is. If there's, is there someone that's like keeping, statistics on, the events of funerals that are in the National Cathedral? But well, probably there is. But anyway, so that was a source of pride for her. But the whole time when she's going through this, talking about the America of John McCain and John McCain's America, and describing, sort of the values of the country, it's very clear that she's still stuck in this idea of what her father perceived the country to be. Not even necessarily what it actually was, but how he saw it and how he felt it. And, and I think that's probably contributing a great amount to her inability to actually see what's going on in the country, and her inability to see that, what's happening with the GOP is not just a momentary blip of Trumpism that's going to go away. This is the permanent, legacy of the GOP, and none of that's going away. We can, that article in Rolling Stone where Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Andy, what's his name, and there's like 6 of them, Congress people that, are reportedly to have been meeting with organizers and were part of the organization of organizing the January 6th terrorist attack. Which, by the way, like, kick them out. You don't get to be an elected official when you've organized an event against the government. So we need to speed that up a little bit. And hopefully they'll testify on TV in front of this investigative panel. But I think that whole thing about what she learned from her dad about what her dad felt about the country is stuck in her DNA and prevents her from actually seeing what's going on. Not the best at pivoting in the moment or, rolling with the punches. So, it might take her a couple more years to see that things have moved on from his time and from what she has in her little head about her party.